the microphone here. My fellow Wisconsinites, my fellow Americans, thank you so much for allowing me to be here today. I want to take a moment and personally thank Roger Saito and the City of Wausau veterans for making me part of this very special event. And I think I speak for everyone here today when I say that we all appreciate the hard work, the energy, and the effort they have all put in to organize today's festivities. You know, as Mayor Tipple mentioned in his proclamation, what began as a simple act of laying flowers on the graves of our Civil War veterans in Arlington Cemetery 144 years ago has fittingly transformed into a national, heartfelt thank you to all of those who have paid the price for freedom that all of us enjoy here today. The sacrifice of America's fallen heroes must never be forgotten. They fought tirelessly to defend our freedom here at home, spilling their blood for freedom-loving people all over the world. And in return, America asks, but for only one thing. And it isn't treasure, it isn't reward, and it isn't any kind of special thank you. In exchange for liberating millions of people around the world, America asks for nothing more than a small plot of land to bury our fallen heroes. No other military in the history of the world symbolizes more than the men and women who served in the U.S. Armed Forces that kind of freedom and that kind of liberty. Now, I'm a fan of Ronald Reagan. In the last address that Reagan gave from the Oval Office before leaving the presidency, he told a moving story about a sailor who was on the South China Sea, a U.S. carrier in the early 1980s. And that was at the height of the refugees fleeing communist Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos after the war. And this sailor, like so many of our servicemen, he was young, he was sharp-eyed, and he was astute. And he saw out on the horizon a small little boat that was leaking, and it was packed full of refugees. Refugees from Indochina who were trying to escape and make their way to America. And so the Midway carrier sent out a launch to bring those refugees to the ship's safety. And as that little ship was making it, that little boat was making it through the choppy waters, one of the refugees spotted this sailor up on the deck. And the refugee stood up and yelled to that sailor and said, "Hello, American sailor! Hello, Freedom Man!" Think about that. He yelled, "Freedom Man!" He yelled, "Freedom Man!" What an amazing thing to be said about you. And I would say that no two words more profoundly describe the men and women who serve in the U.S. Armed Forces than freedom men and freedom women. And when our fallen come home, we honor them in a manner fitting of freedom men and freedom women. This is especially true here in Wisconsin, where just 5 months ago, the town of Marshfield, they turned out in mass numbers to pay honor to Sergeant Joseph Altman. Hundreds of flags lined the streets of Marshfield as his casket passed through town. And when his flag-draped coffin left St. John's Church to the tune of the Battle Hymn of the Republic, and when the Honor Guard fired their 21-gun salute, and when the flag was gently pulled off his coffin and meticulously folded and presented to his widow, thousands of tears were shed for the loss of a friend, a son, a brother, and a husband. But I tell you, on that day in Sergeant Altman's family, I also saw a deep pride, and a pride that I prayed would soothe their sadness. It's a moment I can't adequately describe. I don't even understand and it will forever be etched in my heart. Sergeant Altman answered his nation's call to defend the God-given rights that every human has. The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But that freedom isn't free. Sergeant Altman's family knows that. And so do the families of 120 men and women who have paid the ultimate sacrifice from right here in Wisconsin. Those families here also understand that. And today, we honor all who have fallen, but especially those young Wisconsin warriors who left us all too soon. Not a day has gone by since Sergeant Altman's funeral that I have not thought about him, his family, and the countless other families who bear the burden of their loved ones who have made the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of our freedom. And as a father of 6 children, it's not hard to think about that. One of my top priorities as your congressman is to make sure our fighting men have the tools and resources they need to stay safe while on the battlefield, but then also, just as importantly, when they come home. From the Defense Reauthorization Act, which provides for our troops in the field, to co-sponsoring key legislation to ensure that our wounded warriors are given the proper care they need when they return home. Taking care of our military, our veterans, and their families is always one of my top priorities. It is a responsibility I take with the utmost seriousness. I consider it my sacred duty because our way of life and our liberty depend on those brave, selfless Americans. These true patriots who have dedicated and some who have sacrificed their lives in the defense of our freedom. Our military men and women, the ones we call freedom men and freedom women. May God bless you all. May God bless our troops. And may God bless the United States of America.